The U.S. Department of Justice on Friday began releasing long-awaited government files connected to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, marking a major moment in a case that has fueled years of public outrage, conspiracy theories, and bipartisan demand for transparency. The initial disclosure follows the passage of a new federal law requiring the department to make public unclassified records tied to Epstein and his network, though officials acknowledge the release is only partial and that additional documents will follow. The newly released materials include thousands of pages of investigative records compiled over multiple federal inquiries, such as interview notes, correspondence, evidence logs, and internal memoranda dating back years. Justice Department officials said the documents were carefully reviewed and heavily redacted to protect the identities of victims and witnesses, stressing that safeguarding survivors remained a top priority. They also emphasized that the appearance of names in the files does not imply criminal wrongdoing and that many references stem from contact lists, travel records, or third-party statements. The release comes after intense pressure from lawmakers and the public, who have long questioned how Epstein was able to evade sustained accountability for decades despite repeated allegations of sexual abuse involving underage girls. Epstein died in federal custody in 2019 while awaiting trial on sex-trafficking charges, a death that intensified scrutiny of federal prosecutors and law enforcement agencies and left many questions unanswered. Under the recently enacted transparency law, the Justice Department was given a deadline to disclose all eligible unclassified materials. While the department met the deadline for an initial release, senior officials conceded that the sheer volume of records, reportedly running into the millions of pages, made full compliance impossible in a single disclosure. The department said additional batches will be released in the coming weeks as reviews and redactions continue. Reaction on Capitol Hill was swift. Lawmakers from both parties welcomed the document release but criticized the Justice Department for not immediately publishing the full collection. Some members of Congress accused the department of moving too slowly and warned that failure to fully comply with the law could trigger legal action or oversight hearings. Others urged patience, citing complexity of the case and the need to avoid re-traumatizing victims. Advocates of survivors of sexual abuse offered cautious praise, calling the disclosure a long-overdue step toward accountability while underscoring that transparency must not come at the expense of victims' privacy. They noted that for many survivors, Epstein's death closed the door on seeing justice carried out in court, making institutional accountability and public acknowledgement even more important. The Justice Department has said it plans to continue releasing records on a rolling basis and will publish explanations for any materials withheld under legal exemptions. As the files become public, officials expect renewed scrutiny of how Epstein's case was handled and whether past prosecutorial decisions allowed his crimes to continue unchecked. For many Americans, the release represents not an end to the Epstein saga, but the beginning of a deeper reckoning with one of the most troubling failures of the modern justice system.